Other news in the DC world is amidst all this Batman casting with Jeffrey Wright and Jonah Hill, there's this report came out that said more casting is going to be announced soon. So they said that Two-Face is up to bat soon, that Robin will make some sort of appearance. And then they're also saying that this may set up a Batman universe as far as you have Batman, it might spin off Robin to Nightwing, and maybe Batgirl. They also did talk about the possibility of if or not Walking Phoenix Joker would be in that. We're going to save that for the review because I don't want to talk about it until we've seen the movie, because I could walk out of the movie and be like, there's no way this could fit anywhere. But the rumors just said they see lots of success, and that's what you do when you get money. But what do you think about the possibility of having a, I don't know, semi-mini cinematic universe with Batman instead of the whole DC world? So, Briggs, you go first because you didn't chime in on that Birds of Prey.
I think it's interesting, but I think it could work for sure. I mean, obviously, cinematic universes are the big thing now for superheroes. I think it could work. I really like the extended universe of Batman. I think Nightwing is probably one of my favorite DC characters of all time. But it'd be an interesting route to go again with how the DCU has turned out, and then they're jumping right back into the cinematic universe. Yeah. I think I'm very much on board with the idea of what Fox was doing with the X-Men, where you just sort of make a movie and say, hey, this is my character. It doesn't have to kind of correspond with any of the other films. It doesn't have to be in the same universe. If you want to make movies with all these different Batman characters, who says they have to kind of mix and match and go together very well? You can just make a fun story with the character. So I don't know if I'm super on board with it, but it has potential for sure. But I feel like you're going to hit a bit of a stone wall with what you can do with it, I guess. I would say, like, with the MCU, there's so many different characters that you can sort of spread out over a very long time and then build into something that the MCU has created. Whereas with this, you've got, you can sort of get the, I guess, cinematic universe started a little bit earlier in that there's less characters, at least that I know of.
Yeah. Like, I think it would be kind of those three kind of just holding the charge. And then, maybe an Alfred movie.
Feels like it would still end up rushing into a sort of big get-together thing. And, I mean, it's hard to say whether or not they do it well, but looking at their past performance, it's so we'll see. I'm not super keen on it. I'd love to see more films about those characters, but I'm not super keen on them having to share a cinematic universe.
Yeah, it seems like just a really risky move. Like, why? I don't really understand why they're announcing or talking about this stuff now. I feel like
They didn't. This is like scoopers. No, they didn't put this out. This is someone being like, I've heard talks of.
Still, but I feel like they should just focus on making like these standalone movies and not worry about like spiraling it out into something else. I feel like they've carved out a nice niche, and like, yeah, I guess like Shazam and Aquaman technically take place in the DCU, but like they're very, very loosely connected, like maybe one or two lines, but it's not like they're building towards anything anymore. It's like they're pretty much just standalone movies at this point. Obviously Joker is completely standalone, and then Birds of Prey, as Taylor mentioned, kind of like a spiritual successor almost, I guess, still in the DCU, but not really connected to much outside of, I guess, Suicide Squad would be number one in the trilogy, if anything, and then Birds of Prey number two, and who knows what they'll do from there. But I don't know. I think you should just take it one step at a time and see how these movies do, and see if people like this Batman trilogy instead of working on like trying to build it into a whole cinematic universe. And I think Batman's a big enough character. He's got like a million villains and a lot of great villains as well, that really you can do so much with just that character alone. I think just focus on that instead of trying to make it something like bigger than that right from the bat. I mean, obviously there's not like any official announcements that like, here's our 10-year plan of 20 movies that we're doing or something, but I don't know. I think they should just chill out for a bit, work on their stuff one movie at a time, and you don't need to do a cinematic universe. Like, Marvel's done something pretty unique and pretty cool, but you don't need to do that. Like, the X-Men movies got along just fine with, I mean, you could call that a cinematic universe if you want, but really it's just like, you know, a bunch of sequels, or it's a series essentially, right? It's not like they're spinning off into other characters, really. So I think that's fine. I mean, yeah, some of the X-Men movies are kind of crap, but still, I think that's just a fine way to do it, and that would work really well for Batman because he's got enough content there. So I think that's where I stand, but I'm not too passionate about it. If they want to build it into some big thing where each movie's, you know, tying into 5 other ones, then whatever, do what you want.
Yeah, I think it's just tough for a lot of producers after they saw Endgame, and they're just like, man, like the portal scene, like we could do that, you know. And I just wonder if that was just like,
it was like, you got to have that you have to have the Endgame in sight from day one of like,
Yeah.
we're not going to get that portal scene for another 15 years.
Yeah. I think that's the only reason why DC not the only reason, but I think that could be one reason why they thought about dipping their toes back into this and trying it again. It's tough for me because I'm biased. I love Batman. I love the world. I always say it goes like DC, Marvel, and then Batman. I think that series, I think it honestly could hold a cinematic universe. There's tons of stuff going on. If you look at something, it's not happening, but if you looked at something like Birds of Prey, that could be in a cinematic universe Batman, because they're all Batman characters, for the most part. So I think they could really, really have a lot to work with, and it's one of the pitches that I've always had an idea to do. Is just, I think you can spin off a Robin, spin off a Batgirl. I think the approach that I want with this one is, if they want to do that, just have that in mind, like Iron Man 1, but don't build to it like kind of BVS did, or even like the Mummy did, of like shoehorning a bunch of stuff in. I think they make a great Batman movie, and I don't know if they'll do end credit scenes, but do the exact same thing on Iron Man. You cut out that Nick Fury scene, it's still the exact same movie. There's little nods to what could happen in the future, but it's not a big setup. Like, that's my problem with Iron Man 2. It's just like, this is coming, this is coming. I think if they do have a plan, or if they want to try and have a plan, I think just go make that first one, and maybe an end tag, just do a stupid end credit and tease something, I don't know whether that's a Rom, I don't know if that's a Batgirl, but I think that's the route to go. I really want it because I think it can work. I think that world can sustain itself if you got enough good people around it, and also you have this time Matt Reeves up to bat, other than Zack Snyder, which I think Matt Reeves is a far superior director than Zack Snyder. So I kind of, if it was a lower tier director, I'd be like, I don't know.
Snyder Cut.
Release a Snyder Cut.
Release
I don't know if I
baby.
would trust it. And I guess the other thing is to mention, too, they do have a new president at Warner Brothers. The old one went away because of a sex scandal. So there is new eyes there at Warner Brothers. So that could be a thing. Help. So far, it's been working out. So, like, she's only been there for a few months, but I just think even stuff like marketing with Joker and Birds of Prey, it's working out. So they got new eyes. I would be down for them to take a bat at it because, no pun intended, I don't think they got too much to lose. They did it and they recovered. I think they just got to make sure the films are good. But I'm all for that. Especially hearing that Raw might be in this is very happy to me, makes me very happy, because we have not really got that touched upon in movies, and that's one of the most interesting dynamics in any comic book. So I hope it happens, but I just want them to be cautious with it. But I'm all for it. If I can get me in Portals, but in the Batman Gotham verse, I'm so down. I want to be there for it. So, Taylor,
Arkham Asylum.
Mm-hmm.
I want it. I want it so bad, but I don't think they should do it, because, like you guys all said, you make good points. It's just a little bit too early, and I think they're really kind of hitting stride where they're hitting off these standalone kind of films, and then saying it's they're kind of a part of the same universe, but you don't have to worry about that. Just worry about the movie itself, and I like that. I would love to see Robin in there. I'd love to see, Nightwing, Batgirl, all these different characters, and all the villains as well. I would love for them to take the Arkham games and just splurch it up onto the movie.
Splurge it.
Splurge.
Yeah, splurge.
There's a word I just learned today. Splurge. How do you spell that word, Taylor?
It's a word.
I want to get
it's
the
SPL.
All right, SPL.
And there's probably two ways you could do it, but I'm going to do
I think it's
ER.
OU.
OU?
Yeah.
That's
Splurge.
splurged.
It's UR.
Huh?
Dylan.
Splur. Yeah.
Splurge with a
do
blur.
the UR.
I'm
Well,
thinking
splurge.
Splurge comes out with SPLURGE. You're forgetting
No,
the E
that's
at the end.
Splurged. No, I'm talking
Splurged
splurged.
is a legitimate
What'd you
word.
say?
Splurged.
like instead of G, it's TCH.
Splurged. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a T in there?
That might be a bit too sharp.
There's no T. It's just a CH.
No.
Not too flat.
CHED.
Splurge. It's Urban Dictionary. Let me read this by myself before you talk, and then let me read this so I can, because Urban Dictionary.
Okay.
I don't want there to be anything we read and have a Ron Burgundy.
It's not safe.
Yeah, not a Ron Burgundy moment. Go fuck yourself, Kelowna.
Yeah, no, I just think that there's so many things in the Arkham games that I just love so much from that world that they created. Like, they nailed it, and I think that's just something that should be represented on, like, the main screen. And I just think it would just be fantastic. Like I said, I really want to see Robin in there, because all I have to go off of for Robin is, the nipples showing through his armor.
You gotta watch Batman 66. He's in there too.
Yeah,
Honestly,
that's
it's a
solid movie,
classic.
okay.
Well, the most recent
It's a good
one.
move.
He is coming back, because I'm not sure if Briggs and
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb, honestly.
no, some days you can't. I don't know if Dylan Briggs knows this, but the CW is doing their Infinity War Endgame, and they're bringing back a bunch of classic people that have played these roles before. The guy Burt Ward, who played Robin in 66, he's coming coming back for it as
That's
Robin.
fucking dope.
Yeah. And the guy that voices Batman, all the Arkham games, the animated series, he's playing live action Batman for the first time. They're maybe
pretty cool.
trying to get Nick Cage, but I don't
hope
think
they get
that's
Nick
not
Cage
going to
to play
happen.
Superman in there.
Yeah.
Did he play
happen.
Superman? No.
He was supposed to. for Tim
The
Burton.
movie got canceled, unfortunately. It's a
Damn.
really good
That would've
documentary.
been
but-
wild.
Yeah, it was, and Christopher Walken was the villain as Brainiac.
What does splurge mean? Did you get the
Yeah,
answer?
splurge. When talking to someone, a bunch of spit in the form of little droplets suddenly comes out of your mouth.
Okay.
So you're just talking. So
I
much
wouldn't
that-
use splurge to describe
I
that.
feel like there's an
No.
actual dictionary word that
Oh,
describes
there
that.
is.
I didn't get
I
it. You
don't
can
think so.
you can look it up, but that's the only one that came up.
It's not a real word.
Splurged.
No,
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, good to
But
know.
that's how I want this content to hit the movie screen.
you
wanna
want to
get
splurge.
splurged?
You want
like,
Matt Reeves.
like the juice is coming out of my mouth. You know?
you want
Jesus.
Matt Reeves to splurge everywhere.
Matt
But-
Reeves can just do it all over.
yeah, and I guess that makes sense. We've talked
Splurging.
about there's like so many castings. This the movie apparently has like 6-7 villains. I think they'll all be cameos to try to lay down. That's the part that worries me. I just hope they're in there for the story, and then they say, "Oh, we could use these actors down the line." I hope they didn't be like, "Oh, and make sure you put in 8 villains, so when we make that Batgirl movie, she can fight Two-Face." I don't want that. If they're doing Long Halloween, it makes sense. It's a murder detective tale. He talks to all these villains, but I think they gotta be they gotta tread lightly.
Oh yeah, 100%. On that note, you know, if you look at like the Mummy, you got
Yeah.
all of this, you know, laying the foundations. They bring Tom Cruise into
Right in
this
the middle of the
secret
movie.
little area
Yeah.
where there is Mr. or Dr. Jekyll, you know,
Mr. Hyde,
Mr.
yeah.
Hyde working
Big
low
mistake,
key,
big
and they
mistake.
show everything. It's literally like at let's say for Iron Man 1, they don't put that Nick Fury scene at the end, but in the movie itself, and they have Nick Fury
Yeah.
requesting Tony to come to Shield, and then you see like
And 20
Thor's
minutes
hammer,
longer, though.
Captain America's shield, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe like even a full like hour-long scene.
No,
you know?
it was an hour-long scene. I just rewatched the Mummy, Tom Cruise Mummy, because Emily hadn't
Oh,
seen it, and she was just like, "Man, that's a boring ass movie." Like, yeah, it's not great. So,
It's got a
or,
lot.
or you could compare it to Amazing Spider-Man 2, when the Man in Black just walks by every member of the Sinister Six gear, and you're like, "Oh, we're setting it up," and then,
I
they
didn't. I
canceled
wasn't
it.
opposed to that. I actually liked that.
of course you
It
did.
was
Yeah.
juicy.
It was juicy. Eh?
Splurgy.
But I think you know
What do you
they
think about
should.
the Rhino?
What's
No, I'm
that?
joking. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think they should handle this movie like they would with, you know, look at like Civil War. They just threw Spider-Man in there casually. If they want to throw someone in there, they don't have to make a big deal about it. They don't have to do a whole big reveal. They could have, you know, Bruce Wayne just looks to Alfred and like, I'm going to go to Brooklyn or something and go picks up Robin and brings him.
Brooklyn.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a Marvel thing.
Yeah,
I see. What you,
Brooklyn doesn't exist in the DCU.
I see what you mean as far as like I would compare maybe not Spider-Man, but even someone like a Thunderbolt Ross in Civil War, where it's like, let's say it's not Jonah Hill. Let's say the Penguin was in this movie, but he's in it for like 2 scenes, but they just established this is the Penguin, or like they did with Claw in Age of Ultron. Remember, Andy Serkis was in 1 scene of Age of Ultron, then he came back for Black Panther. I think that's what they got to do with a lot of these villains. I think that's why I'm not worried, because someone be like, oh my god, 7 villains. I think a lot of them are just going to be glorified cameos to set up the world, or just to set up, hey, if we want to bring Jonah Hill back as the Penguin in the next one, we already casted him, you know. So I think that's a good route to take. They just gotta
Oh, yeah.
take the MCU route, I guess. But and it'll be interesting to see what they do if this is a hit, because does that mean we have 3 continuities now? We have Joaquin Phoenix's
Oh, God.
continuity, we have the DCU, and then we have the Batman universe. But
That's
then
not convoluted at all.
but no, but then that's the Fox way, baby. You know, that's what
Yeah.
they can do. But maybe some people have just suggested they just say fuck it and they just have him be Ben Affleck's Batman, and they just don't even acknowledge that he's a lot younger.
They
just go,
could.
Do it.
They
They
did it
don't-
with
yeah,
Rhodes.
They could.
I
So
think it's totally fine.
Rhodey. whatever it
yeah,
is.
exactly. I'm here. Deal with it. Let's
Easy way
move
to
on.
market it.
It's Don Cheadle though this time.
Yo.
Again,
I mean, you know what? If they
No,
do
Terrence
that,
Howard.
he retired.
they do that 10 years from now, it's a big hit. No one's gonna look back and be like, "Man, why did they do that?" You know, it's like,
100%.
yeah.
As long as the money, you know, like I love Aquaman, but I still am always. I watched it again this week, and I'm still always surprised it's $1 billion movie. But you know what? It's $1 billion movie.
Those
So if
water effects, baby.
It works. It works.
We're
It's
getting
not the
that.
water people.
What are they like? The cave monster
the
spinoff?
trench.
The trench.
I doubt that ever happens.
trench?
I hope it happens.
The
Yeah, those
trench.
creatures from Aquaman and like the weird.
There's
like,
a
deep,
spin-off
deep.
with that?
They
James
said they're
Wan is
gonna-
developing one. Yeah.
James Bond.
James Wan.
Okay.
James Bond.
He's a real person now, movie producer.
He's making a movie about the trench creatures?
about those
Yeah.
creatures.
What the fuck?
Why does it
James
have
Wan?
to
Go back
be-
and make Saw. What are you doing?
Like, why
Chris
does
Rock is
Who
making
the hell
Saw.
Why do you
wants
have
to
to
see this movie
make the
with
movie
fucking
over,
mermaids?
like Aquaman creatures? Just be like, we're gonna make a scary movie about scary sea creatures.
Well,
in a
he said
trench.
that because you need IP nowadays, and he said he really enjoyed when he did research for Aquaman, the trench creatures, and he wants to make more. People have speculated, is
That
it
doesn't
about?
surprise me. He's probably a weird fucking guy.
He's
right?
making another horror movie right now before he does Aquaman, but I think it could either be them how they turn in the trench people, or what I think would be great is just like following some normal humans that get caught in the ocean and they're dealing.
That
with
would be
these.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
that scene Aquaman was definitely
Yeah.
probably my most
100%,
favorite. Like
it's
it was was
and then there's
scary.
weird.
It was part of your
like,
most favorite.
There's references
Quite a way to
to
describe
it.
Atlantis and stuff, but then
You don't see it, you know.
Yeah.
You don't see Aquaman come
it's
up.
from like a regular person's point of view. It's like, what is all this?
yeah, like
I'd
have
be
you guys
down to see their society, just how they work. You know, like their markets, their schools. I want to see that sort of
Maybe you
stuff.
get something like Jared Leto's Joker out
No.
on a boat.
no,
out there.
actually, I would.
Dealing with
If it
those
ends with him
things.
dying, if that's how they write him off, that'd be a wild movie. That'd be so great. Hunka hunka. What was I gonna say? Have you guys ever seen that movie Open Water?
Yeah.
Like when they loot.
No.
Oh,
Never heard of it.
It was like they tried to make it like a Blair Witch. Like this is a real movie, but it's like
God.
this doesn't make any sense. But it's like
Stupid.
they go scuba diving and the boat like leaves them, but then there's shark infested water. So it's like how can they survive?
Oh,
yeah. So
yes, I have seen this.
yeah, do that with the trench movie, dude.
Wait, that was supposed to be like a real movie?
That's what they were trying to. I thought they were trying to go for, right? I thought that was the whole thing.
I thought it was just like playing with a cool new like camera thing.
maybe it
Like
was.
I think like
playing
I think it
with
was
the
pretty. I just feel like I saw this as a young child.
I think the movie was going for that, but I think the marketing of the movie was just like a scary tale you wouldn't believe, and it's just like, well, that could be any movie, but they're trying to make it seem like, and because I think they casted like no-name actors and
Yeah.
stuff like
The
that.
sequels don't get any better. The third one was garbage.
I'm surprised this has a
Absolutely.
sequel.
Oh wait,
yeah.
there's
It was a big,
There's
it
sequels,
was a big
yeah.
hit. It was a big hit,
Oh,
but they're
those
straight to
boys.
DVD, aren't they?
Or
I
straight
just
to
kinda
want
streaming. I
to
don't
make
know.
sure we're talking about the same movie.
I think, yeah.
I don't want to.
I
I
don't
don't
wanna
want to see
spoil
it.
it
I just want my
in
head
case
to fill in
anyone
all the
else
details
wants
because I don't
to
know
see
anything
it.
about this.
If anyone goes to the Big Bad Booty Daddy Patreon tier at $250, well, actually, I guess no, at $25. What is it? The best tier yet. If you want to go, you can request any movie we could do a retro or a commentary track on. So if you really want us to talk about Open Water, you can become a patron.
or
and
you
get
could pick something else.
Yeah.
I would watch it again.
Dylan's not in
Like
that
Sky
idea.
High.